Welcome to the Tailwind Marketing Podcast, where we talk to IT marketing leaders about how to drive more sales. Hosted by Carlos Corredor, founder of Condor, an Inc. 5000 company and one of the fastest growing IT marketing agencies in the US.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And this episode is brought to you by Condor, a digital marketing agency for mid-market IT services companies. Most IT marketing teams struggle to drive sales, overwhelmed by long sales cycles and an elusive audience. Condor helps your team measure and generate a qualified pipeline, make the most with your budget, and be recognized as a revenue driver and not just a cost center. You can learn more at condoragency.com. And today we have with us, we have Dan Aldrich with us. He's the marketing director at PCG, who is a leading provider of digital transformation and IT solutions, focusing on enterprise, cloud hosting, and ERP software, an area where he has more than 25 years of experience. They don't call him the ERP doctor for nothing. And he actually has his own podcast called Evolving ERP. So welcome, Dan. Really glad to have you. And yeah, why don't you expand on that introduction, please?
Sure. So I come from the world of manufacturing ERP software. I started with a company called Bond back in the days in the 90s. In the original, Bond was one of the top 2 or 3 ERP solutions in the market at that point. And then I did finance consulting actually, for a number of years, and started my own consulting firm in what's called Infor Global Services, which is the company that bought Bond and other ERP solutions, and still in manufacturing ERP, still in finance. And then I decided in my old age, or my advanced age, to get more into marketing. So I find my way into B2B marketing from the side of being a consultant, being a salesperson, being an executive in a consulting company, to being a marketeer.
Well, I think, it's fair to say you have an unfair advantage against other marketers that want to get into ERP. Marketing, people go to college, and obviously there are some tactics around it, but ultimately you truly have to know the industry and the business, right? So I guess, before we jump into really the main topics that we had, I was curious to know, if you felt that transition. My guess is that it was not a rough one, right? It was an easy one, because it's essentially talking about the industry that you've been working on essentially all your life, right? But I'm curious to know how that transition went for you, and how you're enjoying it, and if it's what you thought.
It's fantastic. I tell you, it's where I wanted to be. Actually, my company PCG, they came seeking me to do exactly this job, because they didn't really have that function in-house. They had a third-party marketing group, which they still use, but I cooperate with them. And I come to it from the standpoint of not really wanting to be in sales. Okay, so I really wanted to be educating people, providing help to people, and I find that consulting is a very good bridge for that. Mm-hmm. Consultants sometimes would be a little bit more technical, get lost in the weeds and things like that. But if you have a consultant that wants to help their customers, that comes through in marketing. So marketing becomes more, from my point of view, is more of an educational experience than a sales pitch. So that's why I think I've been rather successful in this area. I also was into social media before it was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So I was doing LinkedIn articles way back, 12, 13 years ago, making a lot of posts on LinkedIn, doing videos, starting to get into podcasts and things like that along the way. So I'm not necessarily new to that, but it was always a side job, right? Because I had to sell And the other aspect of it was I worked for a series of European and Middle Eastern companies. I worked for like 2 European companies out of the Netherlands, and then Bond was a European company as well, and then an Israeli company called Priority Software along the way, and found that the marketing of those companies was very, centric on the areas where they were, and they didn't really invest very heavily in the US based marketing and messaging of US based companies.
Yeah.
So that's, I found that I now working for an American company, and working for a company that's larger in terms of footprint here and the consultants that we have and the services that we offer in digital transformation and things, other than just the ERP itself. We have a smart factory. We have lots of different offerings within the market, and it's a PCG branding that I've been doing. And I'm not restricted to one particular software. We actually have 2. We have Infor and we have NetSuite as well.
Yeah, I'm curious also to get your take on the difference in let's say messaging, position, or even marketing in general, right? From Europe to the US. But why don't we start with the Insight Hub project, right? And one of your main initiatives as a in your role today, and I think that will open the conversation towards content. But why don't you explain us what exactly is the PCG Insights Hub project about?
Okay, yeah, thanks for letting me explain that. It's very exciting project that I'm embarking on. So it is mostly video focused. So it's a large video library of demonstration videos, mostly very short because the attention span is so short of everybody, right? So we're looking at 1 to 2, 3 minutes long videos. Demo videos would be specific to a screen or a dashboard or something like that in practice. So entering a purchase order, entering a sales order, shipping a shipment, things like that. Why that? Why short? Well, attention span is definitely the main objective there is to capture the attention span of the people and to give a wide range of videos. So they're not just kind of fluffy videos with music and everything. Not that there's anything wrong with those. It's just that people are thirsting for more educational, quick, how do you do something, right? So what they're searching for, in fact, is how to enter a purchase order or how to top 10 ERP systems for manufacturing, right? All those kinds of, and they're trying to find videos. They're trying to find YouTube. They're trying to find some resource like this hub, which is actually going to have hundreds of videos. So we're going to have Infor demo videos. We're going to have some longer training ones. We're going to have playlists, which are groups of demos together for a particular solution. So for example, Infor has what they call Cloud Suite Automotive, and there are a number of videos that are under that. So that would be like creating a trading partner for EDI or an OEM situation where you're a parts supplier sending parts to an OEM, for example. So it would have a series of those videos under what I'll call a playlist. Okay, so those are the ones that I group together. And then we have what I'll call a buyer journey, which would be you get to pick and choose on a particular topic, and it'll play a demo for you.
And sounds like a massive project. Understanding 2 things. One, the creating a video, it's not as easy as creating text, right, or other forms of communication, right? So that in and itself is challenging. I think today you have the tools, and as long as you have an imperfectionist mindset, I think you could not go too crazy and start putting a good rhythm of videos out. But also, for the amount of videos, you mentioned several videos and several playlists, right? So how big of a project easy see from a number of videos and from a timeline perspective, and how are you? What's the plan to launch it?
So it is a rather large project, but there is a lot of content available already. Okay, so Infor, for example, and I think NetSuite is the same. I'm still investigating the NetSuite side, but they use a product called Consensus, which is a sales demo platform. And when I say the buyer journeys, they'll group together themselves a group of videos on a certain topic. So like an automotive or aerospace and defense, one of their vertical solutions, right? So they put together these, they're basically where you make a choice and you can create what's called a public link from within Consensus or in the hub is how I'm going to do it. But they have the same functionality as a Consensus demo. Okay, so that's one source. Those are already, a lot of those are already done. They've done a wonderful job, actually, but they're very professional and they take a long time to do each one, right? So I can't wait for each ones to come out individually. But what I can do is I can dig into those, make my own choices, and use my own tool to pull those demos or to rip those demos into my hub. Okay, so I get a lot of videos for one, it might be on one topic, for example. And then I can piece together my own videos and I can stitch them all together with my tool. And then I can offer them. So it's really great that a ton of content is there. What I'm doing is making requests that and say, hey guys, all I need is an MP4, or I need a YouTube video or whatever. I can ingest different kinds of video content into my hub, right? And then I can kind of combine them, slip them together however I want. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lot of content already, but I'm also internally going through and I created a list of about 90 or 100 videos. I have a site, actually, it's called erpdoctors.com, and it has a YouTube channel on it. So there's a whole bunch of videos that I created, but they're only really old, right? So they're 8-9 years ago before I got involved in my real job over here on the side, right? So I couldn't go back to that. But those are sitting there as examples of videos that are very simple. You know, they're very simple. They're like enter a sales order. So one of the consultants went in there and he started entering a sales order and he said, you know, click in here, do this field, whatever, for, 2-3 minutes and come out. And that had tens of thousands of views. One video is like entering a sales order. So this validates a lot of things for me. This validates the fact that people are looking to do reviews of software without having a salesperson in their face, right? I've been reading some statistics. It's like close to 90% of the people that engage with a salesperson have already made their decision, and they decision based on a lot of research about the products, and the videos were what they researched, right? Mm-hmm. So they looked at demo videos, they looked at YouTube, they did Google searches, now they use AI or whatever, mm-hmm. Right? But this is how they're doing their research. So I believe in that. Also, it's just validation that it doesn't have to be a really professional video with camera angles and music and customers saying these guys are great, because people don't really necessarily want to see that. They don't believe it. They also don't view it. So if you look at views of these really professional videos that people put out, they're very small, the number of views, right? What gets the big views is the ones that are, some guy entering something. It has to be professional, right? You want to use a script to do it, right? You want to make it look good, and some editing on it. But you don't have to have the real fancy stuff. I think people are looking for how does the software work without doing an actual without doing a demo, right? Because they're scared of the salesperson with the demo, right? They want to do a lot of their research, maybe almost all of their research, through something like this hub.
No, totally. And I think we mentioned a couple of examples. Like if I'm going to change the propeller on my Yamaha 75 horsepower, boat engine, I'm
How
just
to
gonna
change
go and
in
I want
Google,
to look
right?
at that. I don't want to talk to a guy from Yamaha that's gonna want to sell me something. I'll just go to YouTube and see. But then obviously then I know, oh, look at these guys. They're putting great content out there, so I'll keep them in mind. For when I need to actually talk to them or when I need one of their services. So it's the same thing, but applicable now to obviously the ERP industry. And you mentioned that one of the views that's already out, got thousands of views already. In the case of the Insights Hub, how are you planning to promote it? Do you think it's going to come mostly organic or going to push through it to your own database? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's going to be a combination of all of the above. We've been doing email marketing for many years and building databases for many years. And we have them very verticalized, right? So I'll have a list of automotive. And we've gotten to the point where when we do a campaign to the automotive lists, we get a pretty high click rate, right? Because our audience is automotive, right? And they're interested in it. So we're also using LinkedIn campaigns that are better than email blasts that are cold, right? So we're going to use LinkedIn campaigns. We're going to use email blasts to very, very targeted audiences, right? So only a video about Cloud Suite Automotive, for instance, will go to an automotive audience, right? Then we're going to use our YouTube channel. So we're going to seed out into our YouTube channel, maybe, I don't know, let's say 50 videos from the hub. And each one will have a soft gate on the back, right? So it'll be just if you want to get a ticket. So I'm going to put the gate on the back, right? That'll say, if you want a golden ticket, I'll call it the golden ticket.
Okay.
You're going to have have a little fun with it and have Willy Wonka there with the golden ticket, to get the ticket to the hub. So that's one way too. So we'll get organic traffic to our YouTube channel. We're also driving through our various means, LinkedIn posts, all kinds of things like that, driving people to our YouTube channel, right? And that's growing. The LinkedIn page is growing pretty fast. And I use a combination of posts on my own personal, which would be things like the ERP doctors, like if I write a blog with the ERP doctor theme or something like that, I'll put that there, and I'll have videos in there, which will push people organically to the YouTube channel or the LinkedIn page, right? So it's really a combination of those things. I think, and I don't know much about SEO, but the third party guys, they do. So I believe that we can put a PCG Insights Hub, kind of a website. We have another separate website called A Smart Factory for our Smart Factory. And this will be a way to kind of drive traffic to that specific page or sub page, however we do it, right? So we'll put some SEO on it, maybe even some AdWords campaigns or something like that.
Okay, so truly integrated and approach to the hub. And for the most part, this is going to be free content, right? Are you going to request viewers, or at what point are you going to request them to provide their information? And yeah, not charge them, because I understand it's actually, obviously it's going to be free content, right? As a top funnel strategy. But at what point do you start requesting a little more information from an email to then any other, information on their company, on their role, etc.?
I think anytime we make any contact through a LinkedIn campaign, we have their LinkedIn profile. So we can reach out to them through the LinkedIn profile, right? To say, here's your ticket. And we set them up in the system. We'll have a landing page. All you got to do on the landing page, all we really care about is your name, your email address, and if you want to give it to us, your company, right? Because then we can find them on LinkedIn. So we'll reach out directly on LinkedIn. And I think we're going to be providing, with hundreds and hundreds of videos, we're going to be providing enough really good content that people are going to want to give us at least their email address. I mean, come on,
Right.
give us a real email address so that we can reach out to you. Only because what happens is we can put a token on it, right? And once they get into, they log in, and when they visit, we already know, if we already know their email address, they're already in, right? They don't, we're not going to repeatedly ask them to log in. But once they get in, we want to know which videos they're visiting. We want to know what they're looking at, because we want to know what their interests are. And we're going to say on the front end, we're going to say, hello, Mr. Customer, you are viewing this, so we think you might be interested in this. Okay, which we have other videos that we can use as follow-ups. And from within my platform, which is called Vidyard, by the way, you can reach out to people with the thumbnail and the little link to the video, and that's the follow-up video, right? So that then we're making a personalized contact, right? It's not something off of an email list. It's not a blast. It's not a phone call. It's not any of those things. It's like, hello, you watched this. We think you might like this.
And how, I mean, it makes total sense. And I think the experience, again, it's one, whether it's gated or not, right? But I think nowadays you see so many people reaching out to you on LinkedIn and ad campaigns, and then it's like even to read an article on a newspaper, they are requesting you to subscribe and to log in, and sometimes even pay for it. But if not, at least log in for free too. So I think people are a lot of times,
it's a pain, right? It's
right.
obtrusive. It's obtrusive, and we want to be anything but. We want to be very unobtrusive, and we want to offer value for not a lot.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right.
That I think the important thing is like, because then a lot of the times, if I'm there, it's because I'm interested, whether that's, in buying I don't know, like some create right off the top of my head, right? Creating gummies. They made me put the email even to see the website that a friend recommended. Oh, I had to put my email. Yeah, I put it. Okay, great. Or to read a newspaper article, or to download a marketing agency state of the finances, which is more, professional related, at least to me, right? And I give my email, but I think in general it's like, if it's a good value that I got from it, whether the PDF, the video, I'm going to have a high regard for that company, right? I don't mind that I give my email, right? But then the opposite will happen, right? If I see that it was just kind of like spammy to just get my information, then I'm not gonna only unsubscribe. Sometimes, and I've done it. Sometimes I, mark them as spam just just because, wow, this guy, I don't like the way these guys are doing business. But again, if it's helpful content, I think it works for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that I'm going to tell you about a follow-up step that's even takes it to, I think, a new level that I don't really see people doing, but it's something that I want to do with the hub. Within Vidyard, there's something called a room, which is, the concept is you can create, it's like a space. You log into your space, and then you have a series of videos, and you have links like URLs to website, whatever on the topic. Then you have documents. So they can be PDFs or PowerPoints or whatever. And you can create this room, and it is ultra personalized to be basically your Carlos's room. I create Carlos's room because I saw Carlos taking a look at some automotive videos, and Carlos is an automotive CIO or something like that, right? He makes parts. His company makes auto parts. And I'm going to say, fine, Carlos might like a generic automotive room that I created ahead of time, plus a couple things because he watched this, and this. He watched about the new user interface of Infor Cloud Suite, for example. right? There's a video that's 2 minute long. This is how it looks. These are dashboards, and you click here and do this. If you watch that, I'm going to say I've got some other ones that show the new interface, and I'll drop those in your room for you. Takes me minutes to create a personalized experience for Carlos's room.
And that's all built in into the VGR functionality.
Yes, sir.
Nice. And how, I mean, understanding the level of effort that it takes to generate all of these videos, is this, would you say, or how much are you guys relying on the Insights Hub as the main driver of traffic and leads for PCG versus other channels or initiatives from the marketing team?
My suspicion is that we're getting to the point where we can almost discount calling, for example, right?
Okay.
We have a BDR, and he's awesome. Like, he'll get on the phone with anybody, right? He'll try to track down anybody. But, you know, the number of people that he's actually getting on the phone is a very, very small fraction of the ones he's calling. And they're busy trying to duck him any which way they can, right? They're trying to block him or send him, he sends a text and they say, you know, and all that. It's essentially calling, to me, calling, particularly cold calling, is virtually dead, okay? So if you redirect his energy to following up on who's visiting the hub, what are they watching, and reaching out on LinkedIn, let's say, that is a much better use of his time.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second thing is email is almost dead. It's not as dead as calling, but it's pretty dead, right? Unless you have a very, very targeted email list with a targeted audience that is interested in what you have to say, then it's pretty effective. But relatively cold, or if I go on, like, say I use a Zoom info or something like that, or I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator and I do a search and I find contacts, or, you know, that could be opportunities, and I blast out to them, what my percentage that I'm going to get is around 1% if I'm lucky, and they're not going to turn into leads that turn into projects, right? They're just not, right? And we have all the statistics on this. And I don't even have to go outside to know the statistics on that. We have our own experience to drive us. So I feel as though the LinkedIn is much more effective than email. So that's the next level. So there are linkages between LinkedIn and Zoom Info, for example, and LinkedIn, obviously, with LinkedIn and Sales Navigator, but that's a different way of targeting. So what you really want to do is you want to get directly to the LinkedIn targeted lists. So like automotive executives, aerospace and defense IT managers, whatever the case may be, right? We want to target them directly and go at them with LinkedIn and this much more personalized approach to go to their profiles. This is what I'm trying to drive at PCG, and the hub is a way of driving that philosophy, if you will. It's something that I don't really see being tried very much, and I don't see people. Well, I see lots of people with databases, right, that might be training databases, but they're charging a lot of money, several thousands of dollars, to get into that thing and look at their training material. I'm planning on charging zero. Maybe down the road, as I get into more training videos and things like that, they'll have a sort of a paid option on this. But right now it's freemium, right? I'm trying to get people interested in the idea. And I feel like it's going to have there's going to be a groundswell of people that are going to be interested in this.
No, but I agree with you on what you were saying about not a lot of people trying it. There's definitely a lot of people bombarding everybody on LinkedIn. And there are some people that are putting valuable content and valuable videos there, but I have not seen many people that have great content for a niche audience, that are also smart about doing that targeting on LinkedIn and reaching out to that specific niche targeting with a very valuable content for that niche audience, right? That's rare, you know, and I agree. When I see one, I'm the first one that will consume it, say thank you, even follow back. But I only do that with 1 out of every 300 people that sends me something, just because, again, you know, it's so generic. And maybe, you know, in my case, they're like, oh, let's look for founders and CEOs of digital marketing agencies and let's just send them whatever, right? But they don't say, for example, you know, no, let's look for companies that are targeting B2B and IT services clients that are within this and this size, that are focused on, for example, you know, paid media or marketing automation, which is most, or analytics, which is, then, you know, you'll have my attention and I'll definitely, you know, consume that content. I'll follow back. I appreciate it. I'm going to be actually visiting the website, you know, it's going to be very organic, and I'm going to be out of my own interest, not because I want to say thank you, not because I think I owe you something, no, because now I'm interested, right? Because I think this can help me and my company. But yeah, I agree that it's, if you manage to, the thing is, it's also easier said than done, right? You need to go out and create the videos and segment them for a lot of audiences, and then you need to know how to segment them on LinkedIn and generate the automations and be on top of that to make sure that it's working properly. So I almost can see why there are not a lot of people doing it, but the ones that, you know, figure out how to do it, you know, they're obviously going to have an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you and I are of the same mind in this, right? And your audience is my audience too. I think it's the software buyer's audience. I like to think it's also manufacturing executives are part of the audience, because I want to expand it to include some thought leadership, like my podcast, the Evolving ERP podcast that you mentioned. I plan to have things like that inside the hub as well, thought leadership content. And I haven't given up on writing. I haven't yet given up on writing, right? So I like to write. I do a lot of LinkedIn articles. They're business related. Sometimes I have fun. I take like a movie, like a Monty Python's Holy Grail. I just wrote one on Holy Grail of business transformation. And I like to have fun, but that's more to attract somebody who wants to have a laugh and learn something and become part of my network. So I get a chance to help them. That's the way I see it, is that I'm getting a chance to help people, and the help that I'm providing can provide a resource for doing research on solutions without going to the vendor itself, without going to even selection firms. I have provided this idea to the selection firms too, because I think it's very useful for them, right? Because it helps them to weigh the solutions if they get a bunch of videos about the different solutions, right? So I made it available to them. But what I find on LinkedIn is meeting guys like you. I get a chance to meet, bright people who want to help each other in a community on a certain topic. And I think this one here is a great topic for a lot of people, because a lot of people in B2B, they struggle. B2C is easy, right? B2C is a widget. You're selling a widget, whatever. Marketing is easy for that. For a service or a software, or, selling benefits versus, selling features, for instance, right? I'm going to try to sell benefits. I'm going to say, why is this new user interface important to you? Well, it encourages user adoption of the software, right? It makes things all on one screen, so it's very accessible. You just click in here, you click on this graph, and it takes you to the transactions. Stuff like that. Why is that important? Well, it makes you more efficient in your job, and it makes it more attractive for younger users like yourself, who want to use a big old beast of an ERP system, which is traditionally built for people that were my generation, right? So it could make it attractive if it has a new user interface. So you see what I'm saying?
No, of course. And I wanted to ask you what, as an expert, you know, or a heavy user of LinkedIn for sales and marketing, and for a while now, because you mentioned you used to do it before on the sales side, now on the marketing side, and now the type of content that you're putting out, and you know, you've been doing that for a while, so I'm sure you've had some learnings on what works and what doesn't. What would be your advice for people that start to, and for example, I'll tell you, I include myself in that group, right? I want to start using LinkedIn to put out, you know, a series of posts and videos that are educational in nature, right? That position our agency as experts in B2B and IT marketing, and essentially that help us gain trust, right? But obviously, you guys, what, I don't know if the frequency, the topics, the tone, or any advice in general on how to get started and go about doing this.
I would say don't let perfect get in the way. I would say people are more interested, in my experience, people are more interested in something educational that's not professional than something really glossy that costs thousands of dollars and took 2 months, which they don't want to view. They don't care. Go get started. Go get started. Use, you know, Stream or something. Go into Microsoft, right? Just click record and do a presentation. You know, that's a video. It's an MP4. I take an MP4, I suck it into my hub. Boom. That's all there is to it. Do it in chunks, small chunks, 1 to 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, that sort of thing. Don't do a long one. You can, why do a 15-minute when you can have 5 3-minute ones? You know what I mean? Because it gets you a lot more volume. And I would say be consistent. Put it out every week so people start to expect it. And make a LinkedIn post. Put the video in the stream of LinkedIn, right? Embed it in LinkedIn. Why? LinkedIn likes it better. LinkedIn doesn't want you to put a YouTube video. You see what happens when you put a YouTube video? It makes a little thumbnail like this big, right? You can't even see it because LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave LinkedIn. So you do that right in the stream. If you're going to mention people, you can mention a couple people that you know will, you know, go in and make a comment right away. But otherwise, don't mention them up there. Mention them in the comments, things like that.
Yeah.
Just to get I would say the interest level up on your posts in general. That drives everything, right? That drives your company LinkedIn page. That drives your YouTube. That drives your video production efficiency, right? Perfect is the enemy of good. That's somebody said that once. I don't know who said that, but it's absolutely true, right? Perfect is the enemy of good. So make it good.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and I love what you mentioned about don't try to make it glossy or even professional, in the sense that I think it's way more important to talk about something that one has, you know, is passionate about. I think that was most important. Not, you know, oh, let me search for what topics are top of mind. If you don't have experience or anything interesting to say about that topic, it's way better to say something that where you do have that experience or point of view or even passion about. I mean, that it's impossible to fake that, and that gets through the reader's eyes, you know, and what they want is that authenticity, you know. So yeah, I think I've posted like maybe once a week on average, 1 to 2 times a week on average for the last couple of years. I want to take that up a notch a little bit. So yeah, I'll definitely keep the imperfectionist mindset to it, and let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I think I mean think about what you when you're putting some content out. Think this way. Think, would I read this? Would I read this? Would I take the time to click on this? Would I give my information for this? Right? So I'd say between gated and non-gated is always, I think non-gated is much more effective. Let's say effective, because if you download a work paper, which nobody does anymore anyway, but let's say you downloaded a work paper, you're going to get a call from a salesperson. You know it. And you probably, what you downloaded, you're probably not going to read it anyway. Right? So make a short video, make a LinkedIn post that goes with it. Don't gate anything. And then see what kind of comments you get, see what kind of likes you get. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. They could be your customers.
Thanks for that, Dan. The ERP and LinkedIn, an organic LinkedIn doctor as well. But why don't you tell us? Yeah, why don't you tell us about Evolving ERP? Why don't you tell us about the podcast, how that came about, and how that's going?
Yeah, so I am part of there's a company called Solutions Review, and they have a video channel, always on video channel called Insight Jam. So it's insightjam.com. They picked me as one of their experts on ERP. They have AI, they have every data, they have every kind of expert that you can imagine in technology. It's all technology based, pretty much. So they made me one of their experts, and they put my profile there on Insight Jam. So I got to put some of my content, some of my written content, some videos, all kinds of that on their community. And then they said, well, they had me on a couple panels, and they said, okay, well, that went fairly well. So would you like to make a show, your own show? And I said, yeah, I'd love to make my own podcast. And I suggested ERP Doctors, because I already had the website, erpdoctors.com, right? And I had the theme of, doing health checks for people, a lot of, you're sick with old ERP systems, a variety of things. I'd written about it and kind of used that theme and the heart and all that stuff. So it was kind
you
of
had marketing in your veins, for
yeah, I already started that effort. And so I did that with Sam Gupta, who's an analyst. His company is called Elevate IQ. And we did about eight or nine episodes, and they were interviews, but they were also us kind of talking about current events in tech and stuff like that. So they were about an hour long. And then after about 8 episodes or so, I had to go away and do my real job. And then they came back to me and said, we'd like to do a new one. We'd like to change the name to Evolving ERP. But when you look up Evolving ERP, you'll also see the ERP Doctors ones that we did before, me and Sam did before. And then they just let me kind of do this, and I'm normally a host of the show, so I ask the questions, and we have a lot of interesting guests on there. And then I have a friend, Judith O'Callahan, who's more of an SAP type person, so she handles the SAP type guests, and I handle other ones, and we kind of alternate as hosts. So it's a lot of fun. We just did one yesterday with a guy named Marcus Harris, who's he's an attorney that works on law for ERP software, like policy and terms and conditions and stuff like that. Very interesting guy. So we just did that.
Where can people listen to it? What platforms?
Just go to YouTube. It's just on YouTube, I think, at the moment. It might be on Spotify. I think it's on Spotify too, just the audio, but it's on YouTube. It's called Evolving ERP. And the channel is Insight Jam. So you'll see that, if you pull up one of the episodes, you'll see one of my episodes there, and you'll see right underneath, it'll be the Insight Jam channel. So
Gotcha. Noted. Dan, before we finish, anything else that I didn't get the chance to ask you that you think, that you want to share, that you think would be helpful for the people to know?
No, I don't think so. Just I'm having a lot of fun. I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm having a blast. If you wanted to check out any of my writing, it's on my LinkedIn profile, so you can reach me there. The PCG website is pcgservices.com. And we also have so we do a lot of work with manufacturing. So we have a smart factory product at the website is asmartfactory.com.
All right, so there you have it. Those are the the links, and I encourage you guys in particular to see what Dan puts out. Well, both on the Insights Hub and also on his LinkedIn profile, and the type of content, if that's something that you wanna get going with. I'll definitely that's on my priority list for the end of this year and definitely for next year. Thanks so much, Dan. It was great to have you, and appreciate your time.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Carlos. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Tailwind Marketing Podcast. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe for future episodes. Until next time.